Hey, what's going on, CoinOpTV subscribers? Robert Welkner here. In this video, I want to talk about For All Mankind Episode 8, which is called Rupture on the Apple TV Plus platform. This video will contain some spoilers. Let me just say right off the jump, this was probably my favorite episode so far. I've been hating on For All Mankind for a while, and with good justification, I think. This show just kind of jumps around. It's not giving us really what it promised. And it just kind of feels like a mess, but we finally waited long enough. We got to episode 8, and they gave us a really powerful, passionate, well-written, well-paced, well-scripted, well-acted episode. And they even feel like they've upped the special effects a little bit there. I almost feel like Apple TV was like, you know what? We've seen Rob's videos complain about them CGI effects. We're going to go ahead and give you a little more of a bigger budget here and get some more better effects going on. I feel like I've had a direct result on this show. You guys let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree. So we follow up to last week's cliffhanger and we find out that Shane, Ed and Karen's son, has been into an accident and he's got some head trauma, and this is an intense news to receive. I was like, oh my goodness, they're really going for it now. Like they're really turning the tides and twisting things up. Poor Ed is up on the moon. We're going to see if whether or not they tell him or not. And Karen has to kind of deal with the situation down on Earth. And I like that they just kind of mostly contained this episode within this story. And there was a little bit here and there talking about the Apollo 24 and a few other characters. But the bulk of things was with Ed, Karen, Shane in the hospital. So that was one of the things that really kind of gravitated me to this episode. I was like, all right, I'm drawn in. I'm getting sucked in. We did have a nice scene with Tracy and Gordo. Gordo had to confess that he'd been seeing a psychiatrist because Tracy was accusing him of sleeping with other women again. And it's interesting to see now the fallout of Gordo back on Earth. And he's kind of represented as this hero. And Danny is watching the news reports and she's like, I know the true story up there, bro. You were losing your marbles. I had to break my arm and get you back early. But I'm going to suck it up. We'll see how long she sucks it up and lets Gordo be painted out as the hero. And Gordo kind of knows that Danny hooked it up for him. So we'll see if he makes a statement or not, or comes clean. We'll see what happens. And then also, because of this mental health thing with Gordo, he's kind of fearing for his wife, Tracy, who's supposed to be on an upcoming mission also, because he knows directly the pains and the pressure of being in space, trapped in space, what could happen. There's physical, mental, emotional, many things kind of happening there. So back on the moon, Ed is going spying on the Soviets. Now, this is something I brought up in one of my other videos. I was saying, hey, I feel like since the Soviets got on the moon first, the show isn't really taking it in the direction where like the U.S. should be like paranoid or just crazy or just whatever. They should just be like, there should be a different vibe, and everybody seems to be acting very normal to what happened historically with the U.S. getting a man on the moon first. And I was just like, I feel like I'm getting a little ripped off of the premise of the show For All Mankind. I was like, everything should be different. There should be like a parallel universe. People should be acting different, talking different, doing things differently than they would in normal life. I mean, clearly some normal foundational things that would be the same. Ed on the moon should be up there spying with the Russians, trying to mess with the Russians, torment them, or maybe flip it. Maybe trying to make friends, make contact, bring over a bottle of booze or something. But just the fact that he's kind of in this blasé, in-between phase kind of upset me. So I'm glad to see that Ed actually went out and set up a little camera and did some spying and checked out their activity and actually reported it back to NASA. That made me a little more intrigued, and this was like something I was like, okay, I want to see some of this kind of activity going on here. And we also got to see some really interesting shots when he goes in the crater and he's walking around, and like I said when I started this video, it seems like the budget or the direction, the CGI, the effects or something was enhanced or increased a little bit. Maybe it's just as we're getting towards the end of the season, they want to kind of ramp things up, but I thought everything looked really nice on the moon. I was glad that we spent a lot of time on there exploring and doing things and moving around and seeing some new stuff in the crater. Ed actually finds this little Russian object down on the U.S. side of the crater. I mean, I was wondering, I was like, are the Russians and the U.S. going to see each other down in the craters? Do they have a little timer that says like, hey, the Americans can be here at this time and the Russians at this time or something. They haven't really sort of explained how they're breaking that out, but this makes Ed get a little more nutty, a little more paranoid. You can see the sweat. His eyes getting a little dark. He has to report to NASA and sort of talk to them about their findings. I was like, you know what? Let's get that bottle of brandy. Let's go over and knock on the Russians' doors and make contact and get in there and see what's happening directly. I know you guys can't speak the same language and you got your orders, but Ed's like the only U.S. on the moon. I'd like to see something, more with Ed. We'll see what happens, in the next episode there. So there's a lot of conflict with whether or not to tell Ed about Shane, and we've got multiple situations with Karen and Gordo and different people that are communicating with him about this, and then finally it's the Russians that actually sent him a little direct note saying sorry about your son, and that puts him on blast, or it triggers him to say like, hey, what's happening here? I need to know, and I need to find this out. And then they have to sort of confess. Karen this is kind of a nice scene where she's Skyping him, and we see Ed's point of view of her, and she's emotional and telling him. And I was like, man, the show's going deep. It's going serious, killing people off. It's not fun seeing that, but at least it's kind of ramping up the drama and getting a guy like me kind of more interested in things there. So we'll see. Probably the best episode so far. I think most of what I had to say or write about this episode was positive. I like it being self-contained and the characters, and it was a little more stylized than we had seen. The way it was shot and the effects and everything just looked and felt better overall. I don't know if it was because it was just like less is more or what it was exactly. But I wrote down if Apple was going to submit any episodes for Emmy consideration, this would probably be the one to submit. So if you guys are watching, that's my thought. So I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are on For All Mankind Episode 8 Rupture, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope that the show just keeps going. I hope it ends on a really high note. Started a little slow for me, but now I'm kind of getting into it. Forget all the montaging and the jumping ahead. Just stick with the characters, the story moments, and the drama, and you'll have me hooked. I'll be hooked. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you guys are brand new, please subscribe, comment, like, bell, all that jazz for CoinOpTV. We'll see you next time.